Late one night, two friends driving through the mountains took an unmarked exit hoping to find a gas station. Instead, they found themselves in a desolate town with no people, only rows of houses with their lights on. As they drove further, the lights in the houses began to flicker out one by one, following their car. When they tried to leave, the exit was gone. They eventually found themselves back on the highway with no memory of how they got there. A solo driver on a long stretch of desert road felt their car grow heavier, as if someone had climbed into the back seat. Glancing into the rearview mirror, they saw a shadowy figure sitting motionless. Paralyzed with fear, they kept driving, refusing to look back. When they reached a rest stop, the shadow was gone, but the back seat was covered in muddy footprints. A family stopped at a roadside diner for a meal during their cross-country trip. The food was cold and the staff barely spoke, all of them staring blankly at the family. As they left, the father forgot his wallet inside. When he returned minutes later, the diner was gone, replaced by an empty, overgrown lot. A couple driving through the Midwest missed a turn and ended up on an unpaved road. The GPS signal disappeared, and the road seemed to stretch endlessly with no signs of life. After hours of driving, they saw their own car parked on the side of the road ahead, empty and covered in dust, as if abandoned for years. A group of friends driving at night decided to explore a small, quiet town they stumbled upon. They noticed there were no cars, no people, only houses with the doors wide open. When they tried to leave, they kept circling back to the same eerie town square, no matter which direction they drove. Finally, they escaped, but the GPS marked their location as unknown. Two friends picked up a shivering hitchhiker on a dark, rainy night. She said nothing but pointed to a stretch of road ahead, gesturing for them to turn around. The friends ignored her, and moments later, they nearly collided with a truck that had swerved into their lane. When they turned to thank her, she was gone, and the seat where she'd been sitting was soaked. On a lonely highway, a driver pulled into a decrepit gas station. The attendant filled the tank, then leaned in and whispered, "Don't stop driving, no matter what." The driver, confused and frightened, sped off. Moments later, a figure lunged out of the darkness onto the road, its face twisted and unnatural. When they looked back, it was gone. Driving late at night, a couple crossed a rickety old bridge rumored to be haunted. Halfway across, their car stalled and they heard faint, anguished screams coming from beneath the bridge. As they sat frozen, the car began rocking violently. The engine roared back to life on its own and they sped away. Later, they learned the bridge was the site of a tragic bus crash years earlier. On a foggy road through the woods, a group of travelers noticed pairs of glowing red eyes watching them from the trees. The eyes seemed to follow their car, growing closer and multiplying. When they reached a clearing, their tires screeched to a stop. The road ahead was blocked by a circle of hooded figures holding torches. After stopping at a rest area, a man accidentally got into a car identical to his own. As he drove, the radio crackled and a distorted voice whispered, "You're not where you belong." He turned to see a man in the back seat grinning at him. Terrified, he veered off the road and scrambled out, only to see his own car parked where he'd left it with no sign of the other vehicle. These horror stories aim to create a truly spine-chilling atmosphere.